I'm Chris Helder, and I want to talk today about body language. Now, it's really interesting when you take a look at communication and how do we read different body language and what are the things we should actually look for when we're sitting down with another human being. And by the way, this will apply if you're sitting down with your boss. This will apply if you're sitting down as a boss with your people. This will apply if you're a salesperson sitting down with your clients. This will apply if you're a husband or wife sitting down with your husband or wife. So we talk about reading body language. Jot this down. In communication, only 7% of our communication is words. It's actually a very small percentage. Only 7% of our communication is words. Right? 38% of our communication, or 5 times more powerful, is the tone in which we say something. Now, you know this, by the way, if you've ever been in a relationship, right? You know this. If all of a sudden you go, what? What is the matter? What's the problem? And they look at you and they say, nothing is the matter, right? You'd be a moron to all of a sudden go, I didn't think so. Of course, that's not what you're going to say, right? You're going to realize, because that tone 5 times more powerful than the words we actually say. 55%, the most powerful form of communication, is body language. Now, the interesting thing about this is we're actually pretty good at picking up tone. Right? Tone, we can pick up sarcasm. We're pretty good at picking that up. But the one thing, the 55%, the bulk of our communication, most people have no idea how to read it. So today, I want to just give you a few tools to take away into your next meeting to read body language at a higher level. All right, let's go through it. So let's take a look at some different body language things that we can look for. Now, imagine you're in a meeting, whether, again, this is a sales meeting, or whether this is an important strategy meeting, or whether this is you with a client sitting down. Now, first thing I look for is I look for listening behavior. I look for listening body language from the other people around. Now, you can about imagine if we're listening here and there's a table sort of here, one thing I look for is the chin stroke. Chin stroke, good or bad? What do you think? Chin stroke's good. Chin stroke is absolutely good. This is a listening sort of thing right here. This is absolutely fantastic. How about the finger up? And I see people listening, they're leaning on the table, but their finger's up, and this is actually really good as well. This is good. People listening, they're doing these things, this is fine. Now imagine they're sitting there and they're listening. What I actually look for is the shift outside of that. So for example, let's say they're listening, and then all of a sudden they do this. They go, and they rest their hand, and all of a sudden if you would move the hand, right, the head would actually go, whoo. I just want you to know something. They're not hearing anything you say. As soon as you see the head go, right, and the weight shifts, boom, that's instantly your cue as a salesperson, as a leader, as a manager, or a person running a meeting, right, to ask them a question. Pull on them right now, go, wait, right, what's going on? Talk to me about what's happening. And again, snap them back into listening behavior. Now, when we do this, by the way, it's interesting. We also have things happen with our entire body, right? You're there presenting, and they're listening, and they're doing a leg cross. Now, this is absolutely terrific. This is good listening behavior. The leg cross is a comfortable way to sit, no problem at all. Now, if they've done a bit of this is also pretty good. They're comfortable. They're in that sort of good space. Sometimes people sit like this with the figure 4. This is also good. For men, terrific listening behavior, right? They're listening, they're attentive, this is all good. For women, awkward, probably for everybody. Having said that, the reality of it is this is good, they're attentive, they're associated, all good. Now, what's interesting is here I am listening. I'm listening, all of a sudden, I make a motion to do one of these things. All of a sudden, you make a point. All of a sudden, you make a point, and instantly, they do this. They go, oh, that's interesting. And they do what's called the shin grab. Now, the shin grab is a block. The shin grab is a block. Whatever you've just said just then, they've probably disagreed with, right? We're in a situation where they go, oh, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. Boom, right? All of a sudden, that block is up, and this is going to be an act of defiance right here. Now, you cannot sell. Write this down. Don't sell your message. Whatever your message is, don't sell to the shin grab. You can't sell to the shin lock. You can't do it, right? This is a block. La, 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 la. I am not listening to you, right? So instantly, as soon as you see this, again, let's go back to our tool. The tool is, as soon as you see this, ask a question. So we go right back in and say, hey, so tell me, what are your thoughts about that? And they go, well, I suppose and boom, they're all of a sudden, they're out of it. By the same token, they're listening, you make a point. You make your selling message, and all of a sudden they go, well, that's interesting. And all of a sudden they've done this. What do you now got? You got the thigh. Don't sell to the thigh. You can't sell to the thigh, right? The thigh, boom, stop, la, 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 la. The block is up. When you got the thigh, you got to ask a question. Again, ask a question. And all of a sudden they go, well, I think the thing that I always think, boom, you got them re-engaged. And that's what we want to do. Don't sell to the shin lock, right? Don't sell to the thigh. In these scenarios, we've got to ask a question and bring them forward. Now, no different with this one. You're there with your key selling message, and you're talking, and they're listening. Now, they're doing good listening behavior like this. They're listening like this. They're listening like this. And then, for whatever reason, you say something which gets them to go, oh, that's interesting. And all of a sudden, they make a motion away, arms crossed. Now, again, this is going to be my cue. Hang on a second. So tell me a little bit about what you were hoping to achieve. Well, I think, boom, that's what we want. We want them coming out of that again. Don't sell to the shin lock. Don't sell to the thigh. Don't sell to a movement to this. Now, by the way, I do a lot of conferences, and you probably go to a lot of conferences. And very often, especially when they find out there's going to be an American speaker at this Australian audience, the first body language people assume is this body language here. Now, I never mind that. In fact, what I look to do from this, it's all about getting people to go from here to here to here, and then eventually to here. Boom. And I'm going to move people into that space. Be aware of what the body language people, both that body language is actually telling you about your level of connection, your level of communication. One interesting thing to look at is the feet. Foot pointing tells you where it is that people want to be spending their energy, who they want to actually be talking to. Now, this is interesting. You'll see this at a dinner party. You'll see this in a meeting. If all of a sudden there's multiple people, there's one person there and then there's one person over here, and all of a sudden this person is talking to me, and I'm the client, and I'm doing this, my foot is pointed at that person. Question, who's the person that I actually want to be doing the talking? I want that person to be talking. Yet so often this person is totally oblivious to the fact that my leg is pointing that direction. By the way, you might get this at a dinner party as well, right? You might be sitting there with your wife and you're talking to the other couple. You're going to see right now that that person wants to be talking to your wife, not to you, or vice versa. They want to be talking to your husband, not to you, because you're going to see it. The foot points to where it is people want to go. It's the same thing when people are standing up. Reading their foot pointing is going to tell you where it is exactly they want to do, and we can read this. For example, you're standing at a dinner party, and I know you can't see my feet here, but imagine that if you're standing and their feet are going like this, your feet are going like this, and you're standing having a good interaction. And then all of a sudden, whether it is that you'll say something, or all of a sudden there'll be a comment, or all of a sudden maybe they've just spotted somebody across the room, but instantly there's their feet sort of pointing in your general direction, and then all of a sudden one of the feet go whoom, and it looks, all of a sudden they make that move, and even though they're still looking at you, if you look down at their lead foot is pointed out the door, and you're going to see this. Now, as soon as you see a lead foot that's not pointed at you, what do? Again, our tool, ask a question. So tell me about you. So tell me, how do you feel about this? And as soon as you ask them a question, what we look for is, does that lead foot come around back to you? Even though they're looking at you, the foot's here, does the lead foot come back around? Because if it doesn't, let them go. They want to go. Well, listen, we'll catch up later in the party. That's fine. But if that foot comes around, they've re-engaged. Now, again, these are fun things. You'll have so much fun at your next dinner party, and you'll be watching people, and you'll be going, look at that group of 5 people over there. That person doesn't want to be in that group, and it's great. Again, reading body language and understanding where people actually want to be. Now, one of the quick objections that I get, or one of the big objections I suppose I get when I talk body language, is this whole arm cross thing. Because people will be standing at a party, and they'll be standing like this, and they'll say, Chris, I love standing like this. And of course you do. Now, this is a very protective way to stand. When we're in a room full of people, this is a comfortable place to stand. And by the way, if I saw you standing like this and I walked up to you, guess what I'd do? I'd walk up to you and I'd start standing like this too. We'd be matching each other's body language. Nothing wrong with it. People go, that's defensive. No, in this context, it's not. We're just comfortable, we're talking, and we're in a little bit of a protective place because we're in a room full of people we don't really know, right? So that makes total sense, and we're fine, we're comfortable. What I look for is not so much the starting place there, but the shifting to there. Right? All of a sudden we're talking with our hands and we're doing this, and I say something all of a sudden, and then from there I see someone go, oh, that's interesting. That's what I worry about. That's the moment you have to be aware of. And what do? If I see someone go, oh, yeah, and the foot goes away, and all of a sudden their arms go crossed, guess what? We've said something they didn't agree with, even if they're nodding at us. Right? What do? Ask a question. So tell me, how do you feel about that? Well, I suppose for me, boom, and we try to watch them re-engage with that foot come back around, and all of a sudden, even if they're still standing like this now, we look for over the next minute or so, can we get them loosened back up and reconnected to the conversation? All right, 7% of our communication is words. We can hear what people say. And we're pretty good at picking up the 38%. That's that tone. We're good at picking up that stuff. But that 55%, reading those little cues and clues. Some of it, fairly common sense. Some of it, really, it's just bringing it into your conscious awareness so you're actually watching it, and now you have a greater level and a greater ability to actually be able to pay attention and read the play. Reading body language. Have fun. Have fun.